shadows reign beneath the ancient skies. A city stands in silence where the Mistborn dare to rise. Luthadel, oh Luthadel, your secrets dark and deep. In the night we gather strength while the noblemen all sleep. Ashes fall and mist will rise. In the darkness, truth will rise. Through the night, we fight and fly for a dawn that never dies.
Sometimes I worry that I'm not the hero everyone thinks I am. The philosophers assure me that this is the time, that the signs have been met. But I still wonder if they have the wrong man. So many people depend on me. They say I will hold the future of the entire world on my arms. What would they think if they knew that their champion, the hero of ages, their savior, doubted himself? Perhaps they wouldn't be shocked at all. In a way, this is what worries me most. Maybe in their hearts they wonder, just as I do. When they see me, do they see a liar?
One would think that 1,000 years of working in fields would have bred them to be a little more effective at it.
You should see cities, Scar, Trusting. These are actually quite diligent. Compared to those inside Luthadel, you have more direct control. How many would you say you lose a month?
Oh, a half dozen or so. Some to beatings, some to exhaustion.
Runaways?
Never. When I first inherited this land from my father, I had a few runaways, but I executed their families. The rest quickly lost heart. I've never understood men who have trouble with their scar. I find the creatures easy to control if you show a properly firm hand.
Very well, Trusting. I will carry your proposal to Lord Venture as requested. He will have a favorable report from me on your operations here. I will leave back down the canal this afternoon.
So soon? Wouldn't you care to stay for supper?
No. Though there is another matter I wish to discuss with you. I came not only at the behest of Lord Venture, but to look in on some matters for the Canton of Inquisition. Don't worry, Trusting. If there had been any real worries about your actions, a Steel Inquisitor would have been sent here in my place. I have been satisfied regarding your actions with the Scar women. What I've seen and heard here indicate that you always clean up your messes. A man such as yourself, efficient, productive, could go far in Luthadel. A few more years of work, some inspired mercantile deals, and who knows?
Trusting had always been a country nobleman, living on his plantation, dreaming of perhaps moving into Luthadel itself. He had heard of the balls and the parties, the glamour and the intrigue, and it excited him to no end. Trusting nodded as he watched the crowd of lazy Ska. They didn't complain. They didn't hope. They barely dared think. That was the way it should be, for they were Ska. They were... Trusting searched. He thought he knew the place. An empty spot where nobody now stood. But no, that couldn't be it. The man couldn't have disappeared from the group so quickly. Where would he have gone? Kelsier had heard stories. times before the Lord Ruler. Those days, however, were nearly forgotten. Even the legends were growing vague. Kelsier watched the sun, his eyes following the giant red disk as it crept toward the western horizon. He stood quietly for a long moment, alone in the empty fields. The day's work was done. The Ska had been herded back to their hovels. Soon the mists would come. The hovels stood unguarded. There was no need for watchers, for no Ska would venture outside once night arrived. Their fear of the mists was far too strong. Kelsier approached one of the larger buildings.
I'll have to cure them of that someday, but all things in their own time.
He pulled open the door and slipped inside.
Good evening, everyone. How was your day?
Our day was filled with work, traveler. Something you managed to avoid.
Fieldwork hasn't ever really suited me.
This is no time for levity. When we harbor a traveler, we expect him to behave himself and avoid suspicion. When you ducked away from the fields this morning, you could have earned a whipping for the men around you.
True, but those men could also have been whipped for standing in the wrong place, for pausing too long, or for coughing when a taskmaster walked by. I once saw a man beaten because his master claimed that he had blinked inappropriately. Fine. If you want me to go, I'll be off then.
Thick mist immediately began to pour through the portal, drifting lazily across Kelsier's body.
Close the door!
The mist is not what you think. You fear it far too much. Well, I guess this means I'm staying. It's a good thing, too. It would have been a shame for me to leave before I shared my news. I come from the north, from lands where the Lord Ruler's touch is less noticeable. Local lords rule in the west, and they are far from the iron grip of the Lord Ruler and his obligators. Some of these distant noblemen are finding that happy Ska make better workers than mistreated Ska. One man, Lord Renault, has even ordered his taskmasters to stop unauthorized beatings. There are whispers that he's considering paying wages to his plantation Ska, like city craftsmen might earn.
Nonsense. You think me a fool, traveler, but I know what you're doing. You're the one they call the survivor. Those scars on your arms give you away. You're a troublemaker. You travel the plantation, stirring up discontent. You eat our food, telling your grand stories and your lies, then you disappear and leave people like me to deal with the false hopes you give our children.
What was your name again?
Menace.
You're content with a life full of beatings and endless drudgery?
At least it's a life. I know what wages malcontent and rebellion bring. The eye of the Lord Ruler and the ire of the Steel Ministry can be far more terrible than a few whippings. Men like you preach change, but I wonder, is this a battle we can really fight?
You're fighting it already, Goodman Menace. You're just losing horribly. But what do I know?
You jest, but Tepper might have been right. I fear your visit will bring us grief.
That's why I didn't contradict him. At least, not on the troublemaker point. In fact, I'd say calling me a troublemaker is probably the only accurate thing Tepper has said since I got here.
How do you do that?
What?
Smile so much.
Oh, I'm just a happy person.
You know, I've only seen scars like those on one other person, and he was dead. His body was returned to Lord Trusting as proof that his punishment had been carried out. He'd been caught speaking of rebellion. Trusting sent him to the pits of Hathsin, where he worked until he died. The lad lasted less than a month.
You ask why I smile, Goodman Menace? Well, the Lord Ruler thinks he has claimed laughter and joy for himself. I'm disinclined to let him do so. This is one battle that doesn't take very much effort to fight.
I don't know. I just don't know.
The sound came from outside, perhaps to the north, he wasn't sure. Kelsier burned tin. It was simple for him now, after years of practice. The tin sat with other allomantic metals within his stomach, swallowed earlier, waiting for him to draw upon them. He reached inside with his mind and touched the tin, tapping powers he still barely understood. The tin flared to life within him, burning his stomach like the sensation of a hot drink swallowed too quickly. Allomantic power surged through his body, enhancing his senses. The room around him became crisp. Most importantly, he could hear the women with supernatural ears. Two separate people. One was an older woman, the other a younger woman, perhaps a child.
Poor Jess. That child of hers was a curse. It's better for Ska not to have pretty daughters.
Lord Tressing was sure to send for the girl sooner or later. We all knew it. Jess knew it.
Still a shame, though.
Does Lord Trusting ever return the girls after he's finished with them?
Lord Trusting is a law-abiding nobleman. He has the girls killed after a few weeks. He doesn't want to catch the eye of the Inquisitors.
As the voices got further away, Kelsier's anger built. The yells reminded him of other screams, a woman's screams from the past. He stood abruptly, stool toppling to the ground behind him.
Careful, lad. Remember what I said about wasting energy. You'll never raise that rebellion of yours if you get yourself killed tonight.
I'm not here to lead a rebellion among you, Goodman Menace. I just want to stir up a little trouble.
What good could that do?
New days are coming. Survive a little longer, and you just might see great happenings in the final empire. I bid you all thanks for your hospitality.
Menace lay awake in the early hours of morning. He could see too much fear in the eyes of the Ska. They knew that Kelsier's nighttime activities would bring trouble. They needed Menace. They looked to him. He needed to get up. And so he did. Once he started moving, the pains of age decreased slightly, and he was able to shuffle out of the hovel toward the fields, leaning on a younger man for support. It was then that he caught a scent in the air.
What's that? Do you smell smoke?
I always smell smoke lately. The ash mounts are violent this year.
No, this is different.
Menace turned to the north, toward where a group of Ska were gathering. At the center of the group of people, he found Jess. Her daughter, the one they all assumed had been taken by Lord Trusting, stood beside her. The young girl's eyes were red from lack of sleep, but she appeared unharmed.
By the Lord Ruler, what happened here?
He killed them all. They were dead when he brought me out. All of them. The soldiers, the taskmasters, the lords. Dead. Even Lord Trusting and his obligators. The master had left me, going to investigate when the noises began. On the way out, I saw him lying in his own blood. Stab wounds in his chest. The man who saved me threw a torch in the building as we left.
This man, he had scars on his hands and arms, reaching past the elbows. How did he accomplish a feat like this? Lord Trusting kept over 24 soldiers. Did Kelsier have a hidden band of rebels, perhaps?
But what of us? What will happen when the Lord Ruler hears this? He'll think that we did it. He'll send us to the pits, or maybe just send his Kolos to slaughter us outright. Why would that troublemaker do something like this? Doesn't he understand the damage he's done?
He understands. He warned us, Tepper. He came to stir up trouble.
But why?
Because he knew we'd never rebel on our own. So he gave us no choice. Gather the people, Tepper. We must flee before word of this disaster reaches the Lord Ruler.
Where will we go?
The caves to the east. Travelers say there are rebel Ska hiding in them. Perhaps they'll take us in.
But we'd have to travel for days. Spend nights in the mist.
We can do that, or we can stay here and die.